Next up is Kyle Millet sharing his job search story. And Kyle had a plan and he hit his plan. Kyle, it's all you.
Hello, everyone. So I was working in banks several years ago, and then I kind of wanted to make a change. Had a friend who helped me get a job working for Traeger as an AR analyst, right? So that's, hey, the company has people who owe them money. Let's go get that money. Kind of different than banking or retail or any of the other jobs that I had done. And I little did I know I had just accepted at that time my dream job. It was flexible, it was fun, it had a cool work culture. Suddenly I felt like the work I was doing was what I was being paid for instead of just writing a desk, which is what it always felt like while I was working in banking. It was like they need a body at this desk, where it felt like when I got a quote unquote real job, it was they needed me to be able to do what I was doing and doing well. Fast forward 2.5 years, out of the blue, I get a call from the VP of accounting. Hey, you got a minute to chat? And yeah, it's the thing that you fear, right? Letting me know on December 4th that my position was being eliminated in a reduction of force, aka I was being laid off. Um, I have no college. I never went to college. I know that's probably atypical for most of the people working in like a professional field. Um, but my big goal, right, is like before I was done realizing that I'd been, like before the shock of it could even set in, would be not to slide backward in my career. I didn't want to go from guy who works in office, does office work, to guy who works at a bank, right? I didn't want to slide backward that way. So as Steve had mentioned, I had a goal, which was I received a 2 month severance. I wanted to have a job before that severance had run out. Uh, and again, no career, no college means that like some of my applications were absolutely rejected immediately because there's no education section on my resume because you only play your strengths, right? I'm going to put, hey, I'm a 40-year-old guy and check it out. I graduated from high school. It's like, well, that's not that's not a good look on a resume. Like that's, like, hey, let me champion these non-accomplishments. So anyway, for my job search, I was laid off on that Friday and I applied for or that Thursday, and I applied for my first job on Friday because I felt like I had to break that glass so that I wouldn't be afraid to like be rejected and to apply for jobs. In the meantime, as any of you who've worked in offices probably know, the month of December is a very light month in most offices. You're doing year end close, you're doing quarter close, and that is it. You're not bringing on staff and adjusting, so in my mind, I'm like, most of these applications are probably just being thrown in the trash. Like they're going to go, like, this applicant wants to hear from us a month later, right? So I did take a lot of December and sort of just like, I guess what you'd say, indulged in my hobbies, right? Speaking of things behind you, my blurry thing is a giant shelf of board games because I'm a big board game person, and then also video games. I just love games in general. So knowing that I wasn't going to see much on that, I only applied for jobs that would be like, hey, this is going to be a really good fit. And I mostly didn't hear anything from them. Fast forward to January, and now I'm starting to get traction, right? When I'm putting in an application, I'm getting those sometimes even just automated emails. And for me, I think I just counted the ones that once I started writing them down, I applied for 28 jobs. I only interviewed uh, with four companies during that 28 applications. One of them I voluntarily withdrew after I had three interviews with them, but I felt it was one of those things where, and maybe some of you guys have had some of these experiences too, but felt like they were trying to talk me out of working there. Like it was like the vibe I was getting was like, this person doesn't like the job they have. They don't like working here, but they need a job. So it's almost like they're trying to tell me like, no, don't do it, man. Don't do it. Don't come work here. It's like after the second in like, so I had an in-person interview, or I had a phone screening interview in person, and then and the in-person one, it really felt like they were just going to micromanage me, and that's something I could really do without. Anyway, the long and the short of it, the job I landed. Okay, so on Monday of last, well, let's see, January 26th is when I applied. On the Monday, January 26th, I applied with a company called Filevine. They're a tech software company. They do legal tech, so contracts and all that kind of stuff. Kind of for me in accounting, it doesn't really matter what they sell, right? That's not, I don't care. It's you decide all that part. I'm just going to make sure that whoever didn't pay us hears from us, right? So uh, they did a Zoom interview for the screening, and after that, they almost immediately, like within 1 hour, they sent a request to set up a in-person interview. So I have found in my, at least in my own psychology, that taking the soonest available is what I want to do, right? So they say, hey, on, I think it was on Tuesday, hey, can we set up an interview for this week? The first day they could set it up for was Friday. So I said, okay, Friday. Well, what time? As early as you can do it. I'll wait in the parking lot for you to unlock the door if you'd like. Like, because to me it's just get it going as quick as possible. So I went in for my in-person interview, and I found that I don't know if it was me reading the room, divine intervention, whatever you want to believe it to be, but I broke every rule that all these tip guides and everything had been telling me. Don't talk about your family, don't talk about your age, don't talk about all these things, because they don't want to hear about all that. They only want to hear about what you can bring to the company. When they asked about the work itself, the what will soon be my new boss, because like I said, I start next Tuesday, said, I can teach you how to do the work. Otherwise, I don't earn my paycheck. It's not about the work. It's about how you're going to fit in with the team, the culture, and how you're going to be able to do what, I mean, I can like I said, I could teach you how to work, how to use our software to manage the invoices and all that kind of stuff that you already sort of know how to do. That part, if I can't teach you that, then I'm the one who's failed. But so it was very little of the interview actually revolved around that. It revolved around me, I guess, showing my personality, talking about my family, talking about my situation, right? They said, what put you out into the job field? Like, if and I said, honestly, I'm fiercely loyal to the companies that I work for. I would not be out in the job field unless I was laid off. I'm not a person who wants to go and fight my way through 20 different jobs over the course of 20 years. I would much rather take one job, be paid less than I'm worth, but stay there 20 years and just be done with it. Like, I don't, that's sort of my psychology. So the interview got over at 10:45 in the morning. It was, I believe the interview was actually at 10, right? That was the first time that they would take. Uh, uh, no, you know what? It was at 9 and it went to 9:45. And then they said they had another interview. By 10:45, I had an email requesting a follow-up. Uh, and in the email, it even said, we want to discuss a possible offer. So as soon as I saw that email, I immediately replied, like, hey, anytime, I'm free all afternoon. Give me a call. I'll be happy to speak. And by, I think it was about 3 o'clock that they called me. And at 3 o'clock, they said, we're going to send over an offer. And the pay is, the base pay is in line with my previous employment. So I'm happy with that. And then this job has a bonus potential of a lot higher bonus potential. My old job bonus potential over the course of the year was maybe 10% of the annual salary. In this, it's a lot closer to like 30. Like, I can earn up to 30% of my base salary as a bonus, whatever the whatever you have to do it, right? And so, yeah, with that, that's my job search came to an end. The goal that I had was to start work before I had to get be paid, like before I would qualify for unemployment. So this week is the last week that I was paid through with when I was laid off. And so next week is when I would start getting unemployment, and now I won't get any because I'm starting my job. So I guess good for me. Like I say, And I don't take a lot of vacation. I'm not a person who takes a lot of time off in general. I like the routine of work, and I find I make my work easier by being there and doing it rather than putting it off with a vacation. But that is one thing I did learn is that open PTO, like I had at my old job, can be a trap as you don't get paid out any vacation pay when you don't have any accrued vacation because you just take off whenever you want. So take time off if your job offers that. Where's the camera? I'm pointing at you, camera. All right. With that, unless now it's open, I guess open to questions because I don't think there's really not much else to my story.
Okay. Round of applause first, always. And he hopped in late last time, so I didn't let him talk, and that's Roger. So we'll put Roger on here first. So Roger Minnick.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Filevine. I did apply for them late last year with a position and did a lot of research on them, and they're a very good run company.
That
They
my research agreed with that. Like it was like I'm like as I looked into like what are they? Because if you don't do anything that they touch, right? Why would you know what they are?
well,
That's,
they're a company that's working heavily with AI, and they have a legal application that's really popular within the legal community,
yeah,
and a lot of law firms use them, and it's helped. It's a Some of their work is designed to eliminate younger legal or paralegals and other things like that to do a lot of the work instead of having them on staff. So it's actually a kind of interesting company, and where they're located too is a nice spot too.
yeah,
So
right off the
and
freeway in Sugar House.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
really nice spot. So, well, congratulations on that.
thank
What
you.
is your job title going to be there?
Uh, uh, AR collection analyst.
Okay, that's a pretty cool position.
Yeah,
So, congratulations.
thank you.
Thanks, Roger. We're going to go backwards. So if you were last, you're going first this time. So, Melinda.
Congratulations. It's always nice when you can find somewhere that you don't just fit with your skill set, but with your personality. It's sometimes very hard to find a good fit like that. So you got that right away, and that's amazing. Um, ah, it can be hard to set goals and meet them, and I'm very proud that you were able to do that. I and sometimes if you can, it's a good idea to just set a slightly bigger goal. I've been employed for a while now, and it's nice to see somebody set a goal and meet it. I'm not sure if I have any questions, but I want to thank you for the advice of showing enthusiasm for the interview process by trying to get the first slot. You stick in their mind a little earlier, and it shows that you really have enthusiasm for the job.
Yeah,
So that's
my
good.
my philosophy about it is if you're first and you do well in the interview, then every other candidate has to be compared to you by default, right? And if they can't knock you off the pedestal, why wouldn't we just take that guy we interviewed yesterday? He was great, or she was great, right?
I like it.
Or I want to be last because then they go, well, that guy just blew it out of the water. Like, we don't need to interview anybody else. I want to be last because I impressed them so much, I guess. Although,
It's the
like
debate.
I said, I did not
Champion.
interview a ton of times, so I'm not like an expert on interviews. So maybe my advice is anecdotal at best, my evidence.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
And congratulations.
thank you.
Okay. I don't think I see him here anymore. I don't know if Sean Lane's here, but how about Megan Roth? Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Well, congratulations. And I was just wondering what
How do I-
inspired you to be more, I don't know if it'd be called authentic or open in the interview process. I haven't done any interviews yet, if I'm honest, but I'm just
I
wondering how to approach.
I am generally a jokey, silly person. Like my personality is, as you can probably tell, sort of big. I'm goofy and I like to crack jokes and I tease my wife all the time. I tease my son all the time. I goof off with my coworkers at work and like tell funny stories and that kind of thing. And Honestly, when they went to take me to the interview, like they went to walk me back to the interview, I cracked some, dad joke style crack the ice joke. And I don't remember what I said, but because she chuckled at that, I just sort of never let up and just sort of was kind of joking and cracking jokes the whole time. And several of the things that she said, our team is right now currently all women, and you would be basically a diversity hire. And so then I played into that, and I cracked jokes about like I fit into any group because if you've ever played a video game where you create a character, you just clicked through. I'm white man, no hair. We don't need any of that. Just the most basic person you can imagine. And that and she laughed so hard at that maybe she just thought, well, if nothing else, this guy will boost up my mood every day. I'm gonna hire him. Because apparently that was the sole decision maker, and I didn't know that at the time that I started the interview, that there wasn't going to be any follow-up interviews necessary because the person who was hiring the sole decision maker for this position was the person I was interviewing with. And I didn't even, like I said, I didn't know that, but then apparently I did impress them with, like I said, that level of personality. I think at least that's the way it felt when I was like driving home. I was like,
Yeah.
that felt really good. Like, hey, I can imagine myself working here and showing up in the morning and working hard or hardly working, drinking your coffee and making the dumb jokes and then just kind of getting down to the work. And so I just sort of leaned into it.
Yeah, well, I think if you're in person, that helps, right? I don't know. I think you can do a little over Zoom, but
Yeah.
you were able to feel it out, it sounds like, and it was a good fit both ways. So I'm glad to hear that. Because
Yeah.
company culture makes a big difference about how much you enjoy going to work every day.
Yeah, the big difference between all my jobs prior to my previous one on that Sunday night, Sunday night and tomorrow, that was a feeling I never had at my old job, and I hope to not have at the new job. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Thanks, Megan. And by the way, he probably won't tell you this, but every time they had have these contests at the company he worked for, he would volunteer and get up stage and, like you said, make a fool of himself. And how many Traeger grills do you currently have?
3, but I only paid for one of them.
Okay. All
Because
right.
I won grills, and I also won a bunch of like thermometers and stuff, because I would be they would look around and go, anybody willing to come up on stage in front of 300 people? And I would count to 4, and if nobody else went, I'd be like, sure, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Alex. Okay, we'll go to Jeff.
Sorry about that. Congratulations on that. Super exciting. To find a job that you fit in, you have the connection with people apart from just the typical interview questions. You said don't share this or that, but that's what got you the job. It's
And by that point, that was all the questions that we asked. Like
and
it's
being an HR person, I can see and going through this recently, see the pros and cons of both of it. But in the end, I would much rather, and this is personal, don't take this for gospel truth because the legality of it can bite you in the rear. But I think that's a connection that helps a company grow, is your connectedness and candidness to the culture, how things are going to actually benefit you rather than just the day in and day out roles of a company. As you were mentioning that, I pulled it up and they had a HR business partner that interests me and looks exciting. I don't know what I'd do with an AI field, but interesting to have that, and congratulations on that, and go and do and connect with those and help. And I would just kind of mention to everybody out there, and you had alluded to this, is be yourself in the interviews. If it doesn't feel right, it's not going to be right, I guess, is one of the things that I always hold on to, that you know, you can work for a paycheck, but if you're not happy in what you're doing and cracking jokes and interacting with people, it's going to be miserable. So just congratulations on that, and good luck in your future ventures and stuff like that, and possibly see you around
Yeah.
up in the file vine.
I know that they do. I don't know if they're like expanding or something, but I felt like they had a lot of openings when I looked at all the openings, not just the one that pertained to me, but
Yeah,
seems
it looks like they're centered in Salt Lake, but they've got other ones out there. So I might fire them an email or connection or something with that and see where they fit in. There was reading that, and like Stephen mentioned, there's legal advice in AI, and the one that taught the class that I just went through kind of aligns with that. So there might be a connection there with that if I can leverage that and use that. So
yeah,
well,
nice.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of legal advice, I just can't help but I have to go to Tara next.
I don't know that I have a question, but I do say congratulations. And I'm also happy to be on this call because I do have a legal background and I've never even heard of FileVine.
Oh,
So I'm going to go, after we're done with all these meetings, go look at it and see, oh, do any of these job roles relate to my legal background experience? Because I haven't really used my law degree in a traditional way, but I'll go see what this looks like. But congratulations. And I think it was you who said it, not the other talker. So if I'm confused, I apologize. But I do appreciate, I think it was you who said you withdrew from an application or from an interview process. And
yeah.
not this go around for me, but like approximately like 10 years ago or so, I was in a job search situation and I did that too. I withdrew from a job. I had an interview and I'm like, this just feels off for me and I'm not going to move forward. Even though they offered me, I'm like, no, thank you. I mean, in the kindest possible way.
Yeah, the thought process for me was if I can't even envision what it would be like to retire from this job, like then like what am I doing? Like I'm to the stage of my career where I'm looking for hopefully to never look for a job again. And
Yeah.
so if I'm looking at the job and going like how, and one of the questions that I asked in the interview, which I feel like maybe put them on tilt, was how long do people typically stay in this role? And I think they took that to mean I'm ambitious and want to move up. And what I meant by it is, does everyone quit because this job sucks? Because the vibe I was getting in that interview was that the job was bad, that the people who were doing it didn't like it and felt that they were underpaid, and that's what it was. And if you don't like it, then you can stuff it in a hat. And I'm like, well, I also have the luxury of like, I don't already work here, so I'm going to just go ahead and continue to do that, not work here.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, for me, I'm trying to find a fit for me with the company, but I also fit for them. So, anyway, thank you and congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Next up is Alex.
Again, Kyle, congratulations from my end as well. And yeah, for me, one thing that I find interesting is that you mentioned you'd like to be there until, of course, you retire. But in today's forum of environmental setting, it seems like more and more, although a number of us would like that, we're being forced to go look elsewhere on a regular basis. So with that in mind, I mean, I know that it's all relative. But what kind of research did you do to further identify whether they're giving you a not more honest answer or potentially blowing a little bit of extra smoke your way?
So for the job I accepted, I honestly took it almost all off of vibes. It was, this is a culture in the, like I got to, because I got there a bit early and they had me wait in the reception area. So I got to see people just sort of buzzing by doing their job. And I just sort of tried to sort of observe like what's the generalized mood in this office. And like it just seemed like there wasn't anybody, it felt right, I guess is the way I would say it. And I think when I think of that, like I say, my if I can envision what it would be like to retire here, doesn't mean I will, but like when I worked in retail banking, I couldn't envision like what they're going to put a balloon on my desk and I'll push it out of the way while I help customers on my last day. That just doesn't feel like something I could envision retiring. Like it just didn't feel like an eventuality that would exist. It's like I knew that I was not going to be there forever. And in general, I'm only looking for jobs where I at least believe that I can, even if it's not really true. And I know that, like I know I'll probably switch jobs a couple more times in my career, but I want to at least believe when I take the job that it's not going to be, hey, in 3 months, I'm going to be doing all this again. Like I don't want it to be that. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
again, congrats.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
All right. Next up is Desiree.
So I do have to say congratulations to you. Big congratulations, Kyle. Again, I've only had the pleasure of joining these calls with you for a couple of months now, but you definitely stayed positive. And Alex, again, I think we're on the same brainwave today because he asked my question just before this. But I did want to share with you, Kyle, your first thoughts when you first kind of started explaining your experience around the college education. I don't have college education, so again, definitely don't let that beat you down if in the event you do have to look for a job, a couple of years down the road, which again, I hope is many years down the road because like you, I definitely am hoping the next step in my career definitely takes me down to retirement. So I think all of us hope for that. But also, like Alex mentioned, in the kind of scheme of things that we're all working through, it may be, again, hopefully 5, 10 years down the road for you. But I think something that you did explain about your experience really helped me. So I'm really glad I especially joined today's call about being the authentic self. So when we started today's discussion and everybody shared their highlights, and the fact that I had shared I've come to that self-realization that I am on the right path. It was after a bad interview that I had last week that I left the whole hour drive home thinking to myself, that is not the role that I want to sit in. They definitely, to somebody, I think it was Brett's mention of it felt more like they were trying to talk me out of the role. But I think to your point of being your authentic self, I think is going to be that good fit for all of us, is we definitely want to make sure that it's just as much of a good fit for us as it is for that company. So I'm really glad that I got to join today's call and hear both of your guys' experience. And it just is that reassurance that being ourselves as much as we prep for the interview, because I'm with you guys in the tips that you used AI to really prep for these interviews. But I think it is really going to boil down to being our authentic selves to make sure it's just a good fit for both of us. So thank you so much for sharing your experience. And I'm so happy that it wasn't a lengthy experience. Looking for the job wasn't as lengthy as some of the rest of us on this call. So I'm just really excited for you on this new big opportunity in your career. And just again, wish you only the best, Kyle. Way to go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Brett.
So sorry, it took me a while to find my mute button there. Anyway, Kyle, congratulations. Way to go. I'm excited for you. Questions I have is just kind of it made it you said like you felt, and I don't know if you use these words, so hopefully I'm not stretching too much, but you said like you made that little joke at the beginning and it kind of just broke the I'm going to say tension a little bit that people have when they interview. Did that having them kind of laugh a little bit and loosen that up, do you think that helped you answer some of the questions in the interview?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of think of like the interviews that I've been to, it's like it is sort of like almost like an improv exercise, right? Like it's like I don't really know what they're going to say. I might have some idea, and if you've interviewed enough, you probably have a pretty good idea of what questions that they're going to ask, and you maybe have answers, but in a way you're sort of acting too, because you also don't want them to think that you have a fully prepared answer for the question that you anticipated, right? Like there's something that would feel artificial or whatever about that. So I think that for me that it was certainly a tensionless interview, right? Like I felt like I was talking with my coworker already, not that I was uh desperately trying to prove I'm the right person that they should bring into the office. It was like, oh, I work here, I belong here, I'm just chatting with you, and like I made several jokes about bribing her to get the job, and because when we talked about my prior work experience, I mentioned that I worked at Traeger, and she said, "Oh, that's I love smoked food." And I said, "Well, I just may be able to put a few grills in your." I said, I actually think the actual joke I said was, and it's pretty early in the interview to discuss a bribe, but and then it got a big laugh, and so the same. It's like I guess I was just playing to that audience, and I don't always think of things in those sort of terms of like life is a play that I'm just a character in, but it kind of felt that way. So,
Well, way to go. And congratulations again, not only on getting the job, but also one that sounds like it's going to be a great fit for you as well. I'm excited for you.
yeah, at least sounds that way. If they were in the business of sort of swindling people to work there, they did a fine job, as it feels like it's going to be great. So,
All right, next up is Stan.
Congratulations, Kyle. I don't know if you can answer this, but so when I left my last position, it's not a simple black and white thing. It's complicated and there's a story to it. But the interview rules are to not talk about, not get too personal. So I've been minimizing that or been vague about it. But you said you kind of broke the rules. You talked about your family, your life. I don't know. Did you get into anything detailed that might have been less than positive? All this
no,
talk about being your authentic self.
no, because honestly, I don't have anything negative to say about like my prior employment. So like I loved that job, and there's no chance I would have left if they didn't tell me to leave. so so in that way I didn't really need to like avoid it. Like I understand what you're saying, like if things were a mess when you left, that you really want to minimize and downplay that situation, right? Like
Yeah.
I had the luxury of like I had a recommendation letter that my former boss wrote for me and said, here is a letter I will give you. If you need me to customize it to specific positions, please just email me and I'll be happy to do that. Like, so my prior employer was very satisfied with the performance that I had, but I had the most easily redividable duties if there's going to be a reduction in force. And that's the reason I was like, oh, instead of somebody else, my work would be the easiest for the other people to take on. So there you go. The one like sort of I don't know if it immediately pretty much immediately incurs favor with everyone, but I'm an adopted dad. Like, so my son, I adopted him when he was 2, and when I share that little tidbit, it seems like I think that tells people there's some code there of like no bad person would do that. So so I think that sort of tells someone in an interview, like if you're sharing a part of your life story, which again is not part that you're supposed to do, right? I've been watching tip videos of like, here's how you do an interview, and like here's all these people's advice on LinkedIn, which is of course anecdotal, right? This is what worked for them, and this is what worked for me. My advice to you is anecdotal as well. The person who you're interviewing with for your next role, they might not be the kind of person who appreciates you saying like, my shoe size is 11, isn't that cool? Like that's not relevant at all, but it's just as relevant as some of the jokes and things that I made in my interview, but my interview worked. So I think at least it's important to just sort of, for me, as I did these, just these handful of interviews, to keep that perspective of like, I don't know what they're looking for exactly, but like, I don't know. I've said this in here before, so if it's old phrasing, but I think desperation looks bad on me, right? If I am desperate to get this job when I go into the interview, I feel like that is the stinkiest cologne I can wear to the interview. Is like, this guy stinks, it reeks of desperation. Just seems like I'm going to give you the answer that you want. It doesn't matter if that's relevant to me. I'm going to just try to say what I think you're expecting me to say. And like I say, for me, it worked out to just not do that. Now, depending on how long you've been out of work, you might be, as I had, consistently lowering standards, right? It's like the first week, I'm going to apply for jobs that are a big step up in my career. If none of that goes, then the next week, I'm going to go for, things that are the same thing I've already been doing. And, I don't need to step up in my career. But if this had gone on a few more weeks, you can bet I'd be applying for things that would be a big step down in my career because I want to work. So I don't know. Let's just press period and say that was the answer to your question.
It is good. Thank you, and best of luck.
Excuse me. Yes, thank you.
Okay, next up is a colleague, Brian Clark. I don't know that you knew each other and inside of work, but
Yeah, I mean, Kyle stopped by my Cauldron Sales pitch in Halloween, so
yeah.
No, congratulations, Kyle, and it's good to see a colleague get a job. So
yeah,
I appreciate your transparency and your honesty in talking about your journey. And I don't really have any other questions. I think the stuff you've shared has been very apropos as well as what we've heard earlier. So just congratulations and good to see you get back to the workforce.
I'll miss you, Brian. I'll miss even just making jokes in here. And of course, we'll miss our old workplace because it was great, but
yep.
On to the next adventure, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
We just want to know when you're having a cookout and you're inviting all at job team. We in the old days we used to actually do that prior to COVID. Steve did I would do a Christmas and I would invite employers from the base and contractors in the city and job seekers and previous job seekers who are hiring. And, I think I maxed out at like 52 people in my office. That's a lot of people in a potluck, and it was fun, but COVID changed everything, and I haven't figured out how to reproduce that. Everybody keeps on going like, when do you have another potluck? I mean, I had a contractor from BAE call me the other day and go like, you don't do any potlucks anymore. What's up? So, Laura.
Yes, Kyle, congratulations. You really had a great, you may have been rough for you still, but great smooth way to be able to have that buffer before you're let go and able to actually land a job. So congrats, that's great. I love learning about your personality. I didn't pick up on that. Seeing you on that little Hollywood Squares and Zoom. So that's pretty awesome.
Well, you just saw a thumb and thought, well, there's another thumb.
Yeah.
Why is that thumb wearing glasses?
I thought, oh, just typical business person is what I thought. I think. Yeah. And so I guess my question is, and you may have said it, but I was also doing a little multitasking earlier. Did you use AI in your resume and in your job search? I'm sorry, before you answer that, I do want to say I looked at Falvine and it looks great. A culture is built on diversity, support, and empowerment, and it has LGBTQIA plus and diversity matters. I thought, you are lucky.
Yeah. I used AI exactly one time in my entire job search time. And that is when on the day I was let go, I brushed up my resume like in that afternoon. And then I asked, I want to say ChatGPT to take the existing information exactly as is and put it into a modern format because my resume was 3 years old. And that's it. That's all I used. And then I used the same resume for every job I applied for. I did not get to the stage where I was doing the constant customization, which I know some people are doing. I think that probably would have been a step I would have been taking pretty soon if I was not, if I hadn't been selected and got a job. I would probably be customizing my resume for each job, especially as I thin through all the things that I have applied for versus what's out there. But for the immediate passed. Like all I did is ask for formatting because I also have, I guess, what you'd consider to be a much weaker resume than many others, right? Like I said, there's no education section. It's only skills and it's only work history. That's it. Because that's what I'm bringing to the table to these companies, right? Is I don't have, any degrees or anything like that. And honestly, I applied for so many jobs where it was like bachelor's degree required, but most often now they put or comparable experience, and I just went, well, I have comparable experience. I'm applying anyway. uh, just I think there are other things that people can bring to companies through their lived experience that aren't just a degree. I can bring other value to a company for my lived life experience than just what did you learn in college. So
no, that's good. I know it's changed because I've gone through had to look for jobs several times over the past few years. And one thing it has changed, before they would say, if it says required and it's on there, don't worry, that's a dream list. If 80% or something, apply. Well, now when I go to other workshops, mainly for military, because I'm prior military, is they say you have to match the required. So if it says bachelor's, it has to have bachelor. If it says secret clearance, you have to meet secret clearance. If it says able to obtain or equal experience, then that's a different story. And that's
probably especially with private employers that are scraping with AI, you're probably right. Like you probably are wasting your time for a lot of them because it is automatically rejecting many applicants who don't. They go, this is what we want, and the machine doesn't go, oh well, there's like a bunch of stuff on here that makes it worth having an interview. Like this person seems great, but they don't have a degree. Gone, because the machine doesn't consider that part.
Yeah, the ching gong is apparently is pretty relevant, and to the point is if they say you're going to be a project manager, for example, and they list project management like 3 times in that job description, you're supposed to have it 3 times in your resume.
Oh,
and so it's crazy. I'm thankful. Hopefully, with the 2 interviews I had this past few weeks, we'll land something because it's getting even more extreme. I think with the use of AI, and that's not true of every company.
Right.
But like DoD, the required stuff is pretty much solid. But it is, heavily used by most companies, that same criteria with AI, or not AI, ATS, the ATS filtering.
Right.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't. I'm just thankful you did so well. It's great to see success from a fellow colleague I've met here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Next up is Jason Green.
Well, congratulations, Kyle.
Thank you.
How big? And so, Filevine is centered in Utah.
I think so. I think the CEO, according to his Twitter profile, lives in Provo. So I think so. They do have offices in a lot of places around the world, though. I did notice that, and I don't know how big those operations are. Maybe that's something I'm going to be learning as I get going. As far as I understand, the collection part, the part that I'm going to be doing, is entirely that group. So it's not they maybe have localized collection for things where they're doing I guess their primary client base is going to be law firms. So law firms who are using their software platform to do all their legal contracts and all that stuff. So what I was told is that a good portion of my time will be spent arguing with lawyers who will freely admit that they did not read the contract before signing it. So I have to maybe that personality level of being able to play along and with whatever, maybe that was part of it, since they know I'm going to be arguing with lawyers about money. But as far as I know, they have some, I don't know if they're satellite offices or what around the world, but as far as I understand it, their CEO lives in Utah and their head of operations, or whatever you'd call it, is here. Their headquarters.
Because I guess the real question is it a big company or a small company? And I'm not sure that's clear.
They're not listed on the NYSE, but I found one stock ticker thing from NASDAQ, but I felt like it was outdated. So they may have gone for an IPO and then pulled back and went private. I don't know. that I'm another thing I'm hoping to learn, right? I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, because when I started here in Utah, the company, at least the group we were working in, the automotive safety products, was small, and that was definitely a big part of the culture, was this small company.
Yeah.
And as time went on, that division was sold and it got bigger and bigger, and the company morphed into a big company, and the culture was definitely different and not nearly as fun to work with. Yeah, so that's that, like say, the the company culture is so important to job satisfaction. I think I can see why you were attracted to what you were attracted to.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems good.
Yeah. I hope that's the way it turns out. And good luck.
Next up is Dawn.
At least someone got an interview at the Filevine. I applied for there several times and
never
even got a hit. They looked at my resume. I actually know one of the people who's the VP there, but he never responded back to my messaging. So congratulations.
I think easier to get in at the lower levels, because aren't you're like a senior manager in your previous roles, right?
Oh, I guess.
Or VP of sales, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I'm applying to be the guy who harasses people on the phone for money. You could probably get in there for that interview, Don. Is that the work you want to do?
I don't take anything. Well, but congratulations. Awesome. Let's feel good. Good job.
Yeah.
Thanks, Don. Next up is Tammy.
Congratulations. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you, Tammy.
I'm with you. I think culture is the most important thing in the job, and I haven't had that for like 10 or 15 years and would really like to get back to that. So I'll keep my eye on your company and keep checking to see if there's any positions open, and maybe someday I'll work with you. Who knows?
Yeah. I will say this is a 4-1 hybrid. So it's 4 days in office and 1 day at home. So that I know maybe that deterred some folks, right? Because I think with accounting background that you have, it's like I think we all sort of feel like, yeah, but like once I'm up and running, there's no I could do this in my car. Like it doesn't matter where I am. But if it's part of the culture that everybody bees there and collaborates and celebrates successes and mourns failures together, well, that's part of the culture. But for me, I'm like really close to the highway, so like it's not going to be a bad like commute. Some people commuting into Sugar House, they go, oh, I'm not doing that. But I'm east-west commute, so it's not that bad. There's days where it'll be awful, I'm sure, but mostly it won't be too bad. Yeah.
Well, I wish you and your family luck, and again, congrats.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, and I think it was first last time or close to it, was Tommy.
You ruined my question. I was just about to ask if it was remote or working in the office.
Oh, wow. I just anticipated. Yeah, it's in office primarily. I think it'll probably be again, the vibe check, right? It's probably the kind of place where, hey, instead of calling out sick, why don't you just go ahead and work from home if you can? Which is that's still fine for me. Like I said, I prefer to just have that routine every week of working. But I also don't want to drag everybody through, hey, now the entire department is sick because I came to work and couldn't stop coughing,
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Don wasn't the only person that applied there. I applied there and got rejected. So you got a speed on that. So congratulations.
Luck, I guess. I
got
rolled
rejected.
a natural 20 on charisma and just got in.
Best dad jokes.
Yeah. Sometimes, right? Sometimes they work.
Okay, I got Did I get everybody? Everybody get a chance here. Did I get everybody? I think I did.
I got one question, Steve.
Perfect. Go ahead.
When you found the posting, did you find it when it was first posted and was one of the top candidates posting for it?
Yeah. So that listing I think was only hours old when I applied for it. So I think that they're motivated to fill those positions. Because I applied on Monday morning, like as soon as our meeting here was done. Or actually, I think that week we didn't have a meeting, maybe. I don't know, but it was a Monday morning that I applied, and like I said, I interviewed like either the next day and then had the in-person interview that Friday, got the offer that Friday night and accepted it before. Like I had to cancel an interview with another company because I was like, well, I'm going to update my LinkedIn. And then if this other, like, even if they offer me more money, like it's already like, oh, but I already accepted the position. I'm not the kind of person who's going to go back on that. So, yeah.
I think that helps get interviewed when you're one of the first candidates. We had another guy on our team that was one of the first candidates a while back. I used to work with him at Dell, and he got an interview and got hired on right away too. So
yeah, I do think that to me, that if you're a company who wants to hire somebody, you don't want to spend 2 months doing that either. So when I see a posting that's 2 months old, I don't really have much hope that that's going to be a real opportunity, right? Because that's just either a posting that was just never removed or a position that they're really not looking to fill. Because they can, I mean, it, like we said, in a tough job market, if they're just looking for somebody, they can fill those roles quickly, So, and I did all my searching primarily through LinkedIn and through the state of Utah. I used those two resources as far as listings, and there was a lot of duplication, across those two, job list things. So,
thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you, Roger.
All right, Kyle, any parting words other than your humor? I mean, I got a liner that I like. I think desperation is a bad look on me. Yeah. And it's a bad smelling cologne. It stinks. Yeah, I love that. I'm sorry. I'm going like, I could just see him. So does anybody want to do any impromptu? Yeah, I will. Yeah. I can see you say that. I can see you do that.
I mean, I talk in this setting just like I talk in real life. I use a lot of very silly metaphors and things. My parting words would be goodbye forever.
All right. Because I don't know about forever, and I'll tell you why I say that way. Okay. Because here, my story, I make up stories about everybody here. Hopefully we're back to Hollywood for everybody, Hollywood Squares. My story is Kyle gets there and he looks at the incentive program for the referral bonus and he looks at Dawn. He goes, Dawn's job's still available, but it's not posted on the outside. But Dawn pulls in a pretty good referral bonus because it's a higher level job. And he's going through all these things and he's going like, hey, these people were all maybe not looked at by a human, maybe, or a human looked at him really quickly, and he hands the resume in there, and people get interviews. And well, in my perfect story, everybody gets hired, and Kyle calls me and says, I want to take you to Ruth Chris for dinner because you don't know how much money I made with all the people, and that's why you don't have anybody on job team anymore. Okay, that's a story I made up. I went to Ruth Chris for the very first time. Ouch. It was a very, I looked around the room and I go like, these are like the people, probably the really fancy people in downtown Salt Lake City. I mean, like, you could just, if nobody's been there, just go look at the menu prices. Go look at the menu prices. Okay, I'm going to end our conversation with this for this recording, but I'm not finished.